Hi, and welcome to my Teacher Researcher presentation. My topic today is writing conferences. I'll give you a quick breakdown just in case it's something you're unfamiliar with. They are basically individual one-on-one teacher-student conversations where you discuss a student's writing process, usually in response to a specific piece of writing which you have right in front of you. Um, the process of writing conferences is always the same. They must have purpose. So that purpose is always to help students become better writers. They also always follow a predictable structure with predictable roles for both the teacher and the student. It's also important that they put students in a position of collaborating with the teacher rather than simply listening to a teacher. And it's also important to communicate to students in their conferences that we care about them as people and as writers. So that's the breakdown. Here we go. Benefits of writing conferences. These are really where I connect writing conferences and a strategy to educational theory. There's plenty of different theories that I could have connected this to. I would have been here all day, but I chose four that I thought were the strongest. And first and foremost, the theory I connected it to is individualized instruction. Conferencing one-to-one is pretty much the definition of individualizing your instruction because you're tailoring the content that you cover to a specific student's needs. The students are completing the work on their own, and it's also tailoring it to the students' inquiries. So whatever they want to ask you about, that's what the conference is tailoring to. Another connection to theory is that conferences are really rooted in clear and precise feedback. They wouldn't function without feedback. And we've learned through time that feedback is more effective when it's clear and precise. I think that face-to-face communication is way more clear than any sort of cryptic scribbled note in the margin of an essay. I also think that conferencing can still remain task-specific because you're talking about a specific assignment that's directly in front of you, but you're also talking about techniques that will help to develop stronger writers in the long run for the rest of their lives. All right, so other ways I connected this to theory is that students are really building autonomy through writing conferencing. They're self-evaluating, generating their own ideas, their own solutions for their own writing problems. The teacher really does act as a facilitator, and students are kind of taking a big stake in their own success. This plays into their boost of self-efficacy. So again, because students are taking a strong role within their own academic success, they're also receiving positive feedback, and all of these things increase a pride in their work. And studies have shown that when students have higher self-efficacy, which means that they have a stronger faith in their own success, their academic performance will be influenced by that positively. So some qualities of a good conference, I mostly just compiled this from some helpful resources. So it's smart to look at Carl Anderson's work if you're thinking you're going to do writing conferencing in the classroom, because he came out with a great guidebook in 2000. It's called How's It Going? A Practical Guide to Conferring with Student Writers. I was able to find this handout for free online, which was a handout that he gave to people who attended his speech, I guess, his conference in 2010. And he pulled this chart right out of the book, and it's available for free online. This chart really details the teacher's role and the student's role as he sees it in an ideal writing conference. This is a great jumping off point. I didn't completely exactly plan my procedure, my implementation around this exactly, mostly because I think it's important to read the students' writing prior to the conference, especially because I want to do my conferences in under 5 minutes. But I like how he kind of shows how the different roles play off of each other. A big thing I found in my research is that conferencing is very similar to counseling. So I'll give you a moment just to read this really great quote that I found. So if we use this outlook to help shape our writing conferences, it can be really helpful for us to look at insights and guidelines and tools of counselors. So, some of the outlooks that I found when I was researching how counseling and conferencing connect are these three helper outlooks. So, the first would be helper empathy, the second is helper warmth and caring, the third, helper regard and respect. Now, all of these sound really similar, but I'm going to talk to you about how they're each specific outlooks that a teacher should have when they're conducting writing conferences. And every time helper is used on the slide, it could correspond to teacher in our setting. So helper empathy is really taking the time to understand the student's meaning and placing an emphasis on what the student is thinking. This is in place of emphasizing your interpretation of what a student is trying to say, your interpretation of what a student is trying to write about, because they're not always the same. So really placing an emphasis on what they mean. Helper warmth and caring is just about responding enthusiastically in a personal and concerned way, and specifically caring more about the student than the product. We care more about the writer than we do about the writing task. That's just a bouncing off point for any productive and effective teaching strategy, but I think it's a smart way to remind ourselves not to get caught up on the score, the writer's score. We're really working on developing skills that these humans, these people, these students that we love will be using for the rest of their lives. The third is helper regard and respect. Basically, this is the outlook that we're not approving or disapproving of any of their writing, any examples of their writing. We have an unconditional positive regard toward the student no matter what, and we're willing to help in any way. So what kind of skills can we assess during writing conferencing? I'm going to connect here to a lot of next generation ELA standards. I also focus mostly on middle school for this, just to keep that in mind. So writing conferencing really can assess a multitude of skills, and that can be up to the teacher depending on what type of writing they're having the students create. But as it concerns any conference, they will have speaking language standards and language standards that come into play. So looking at 7-8 next generation ELA standards, speaking language standard 1B says following norms for collegial discussions, tracking progress towards specific goals and deadlines, and defining individual roles as needed. That certainly would come into play. Similarly, the Language 3 standard is using knowledge of language and its conventions when writing, speaking, reading, or listening. All right, so then obviously writing standards, because if we're doing writing conferences, we're going to be talking about writing standards. So this is where it would kind of depend upon what task the student was doing specifically when you're conferencing with them, but I included writing 1, writing 2, and writing 3, any subsets of those. If you're working with students on a more argumentative piece, it would play more into the writing 1 standard. Writing 2 is more for informative or explanatory text, and writing 3 deals more with writing narratives. And so if it was narrative, you would be focusing more on narrative techniques and description and clear sequencing. So I'll give you an example of some of the rubrics that I pulled as examples, just because these are very broad and all-encompassing, which works for this setting, but if you were doing a writing conference in your classroom, you're going to want to create a specific rubric for the task that you're conferencing about. This was just a way for me to show how even broad rubrics would vary a bit from argumentative to narrative, etc. So here it's really about evidence and clear claim for argumentative, and then informative, again, it's more about topic rather than claim. And here for narrative, it's a big section on narrative techniques, a sequence of events, things like that. So every time you're doing a writing conference, you should have a clear either checklist of expectations or a rubric in play. My process. So I kind of wanted to go into my process from here because this is how I would hope to implement this in my student teaching. I would hope to measure success with a pre-assessment and a post-assessment, kind of like what I was just describing with the rubrics. Students will have a first draft of a piece of writing, could be argumentative, informative, narrative, could be at any grade level. They're going to have a draft which is scored based on a comprehensive rubric. And then after I conference with them, we're going to score their next draft that they make after the conference on the same rubric, and ideally the score would go up. So when it comes to the teaching strategies I want to use, first I'm going to just explain a little bit of the preparations that I would have to make. I would have read all of the students' drafts beforehand. I wouldn't put any marks on the students' drafts myself. I would actually write down my notes on the side in my own notebook, making sure to highlight one very positive feedback and one area that could use maybe some improvement. I will hand all of the students back their drafts on the day of conferencing. And I will also hand them a conference template, which I'm going to show you in a second. The first part of my procedure of the day would again be handing back these sheets and going into direct instruction, where I share my objectives for the lesson with the class verbally and visually, so they know what is expected of them and there's no excuses. You can look at the board. That's what's expected of you today. Students will know what they're working on when they're not conferencing. Typically it would be a long-term project, and also what their role is going to be during the conference. There would be a bit of review because we would have covered that previously. I will have them repeat the instruction back to me to ensure comprehension. During the conferencing segment of the lesson, it would be mostly student-led discussion, student-centered work, and I'm going to talk about that more in a second. Then lastly, just again, feedback is a very strong strategy within the lesson because it's inherent that a conference has feedback in order to be successful. So again, clear and precise feedback. I would want to include definitely at least one positive finding, 1 to 2 areas that the student could improve upon. I pretty much would really do 2 if the questions that the student is asking me about, the thing that they have trouble with, is something different than what I had noted previously when reading their draft. So here we get into the student interaction aspect. So again, I've mentioned it before with the student autonomy, but really a conference is effective when the student is able to guide it where they need it to go. They're leading the conversation, and the teacher really acts as a facilitator, helping the students to come to their own, not conclusions per se, but solutions to their own problems through the use of guided questions. So here's an example of something I would try and base my template off of when I hand the students back their draft. Before the conference, I would want them to answer the first 4 questions, which really ask the students to list what the rubric says are essential essay elements. I would want them to score their own essay and then justify it using language from the rubric. I would want them to list ways that they think they could improve their essay, but mostly in bold, what is one important thing you would like to have your teacher help you improve on or work on in your essay? And then the last part of the sheet has them write down their plans for revision. That way they can jot down while we're conferencing or right after, so we don't forget what we've discussed. So here are my anticipated learning outcomes from implementing this strategy. My anticipated learning outcomes are that the student will receive a higher score on their second draft than they did the first draft after we've conferenced, while it's applied to the same rubric. I also anticipate that the students will leave the conference with a clear understanding of the assignment, as well as the direction that they're going to be going with their revisions. I also anticipate that the conference will build upon students' intrinsic motivation as well as their self-efficacy as it concerns their writing. Potential hiccups that I've considered are that while implementing my 5-minute conferences, time management is going to be the biggest issue. So I'm hoping to set my timer for 4 minutes and 30 seconds. That way we'll have enough time to wrap up the last thought when the timer goes off. Well, thanks for making it this far. My email is below if you would like to reach out. And this is my bibliography. Thanks for listening.